The hardest part about my first investment banking Superday was not in the interview. It was in the call that followed afterwards. I'm Hamdael Selim Eslaquit. This 16-minute TEDx-style speech was recorded at the University of Virginia McIntire's first generation scholarship symposium, and it's called Honor Your Source Code. What do I mean by source code? Your source code is defined by the early experiences in your life that you have no control over, but shape the very essence of who you are. And mine all started around one shared plate of Injera on the floor. In this talk, I share the moments that shaped my source code and the very moment that changed how I show up as a person and practice filtered authenticity. If this resonates, watch to the very end, hit the subscribe button, and comment down below one line of code that your family wrote in you. Without further ado, let me roll the tape. And today, during this speech, I want you to remember family, because I'm going to use this metaphor of software to talk about those first lines of code that your family instill in you that you don't get to choose, okay? Follow me along. We're gonna do three things. First, I'm gonna tell you about my software and what early experiences in my life wrote those first lines of code. Then, I'm going to tell you exactly how it shows up every single day in my life. And then lastly, everybody in this room is gonna leave with a standard that you can remember, that you can lean on, and that you can honor when life starts to feel a little bit too overwhelming. Okay, good? Awesome. Okay, let me tell you how I grew up. I grew up eating on the floor with no table and no chairs, in a circle. Not because we didn't have those things, but because we chose to eat with our hands. Because that's exactly what our grandparents taught us. If somebody joined this circle late, the whole circle would shift. If somebody was in this circle for the first time, well, the first bite that they ate would be fed to them by someone else's hand. And we called that gursha. If somebody didn't get the chance to make their own plate and eat, and if you had food left on your plate, you gave them what was left, even if you weren't satiated. What I'm describing to you all is exactly how my family eats injera around one shared plate on the floor in a circle. And in that simple routine, I learned more than table manners ever could teach me. You look up before you speak, you pass before you take, and you always leave enough for the next person. Though that experience wrote my first lines of code. And everybody in this room, everybody has their own first lines of code. And that's what makes us different. And I can promise you that you will never find another person who has those same lines of codes as you. And I'll never forget one important story that made me realize exactly what honoring your source code means. It was January 5th, 2025, Sunday. For the first time in my life, for the first time in my adult life, I was going to be flying to New York for Finance Academy for a 5-day experience where I was going to speak to 15 different institutions, speak to hundreds of UVA alumni. But most importantly, that Friday, January 10th, 2025, I had a moment that I've been preparing for so tirelessly since I first got to UVA. My first investment banking final round interview. I will remember how fast that week flew by me. Why? Because in the back of my mind, I had this voice that kept saying, are you ready? Did you prepare enough? Do you know all the technical interview questions conceptually? Did you do enough networking? And I remember I heard that voice and I was aware of it. So I grabbed it and I threw it because hell with it. I knew that I put the work in. I knew that I spent those countless nights, the hours, letting the blood, the sweat, the tears all out because I wasn't gonna let this opportunity slip from my fingers. That Friday came along. I wake up in the morning and I do my routine. I get up, I hit the gym, I go get a good breakfast, and I have several shots because I need to loosen up. Shots of espresso. And I remember I'm listening to Rod Wave as I'm going straight to the office. biggest smile on my face, I walk into that first room. Managing director is sitting right there with his portfolio next to him and my resume in his hand. I walk up, I take a seat like I'm the man. But that conversation went so casually. 45 minutes flew just like that, and I was already walking into the second room. I walk into the second room and it's two VPs sitting right there. Same scene. Portfolio, both of them with my resume in their hand. Same thing. Casual conversation. I'm just being me. I walk into that third room, it's two first-year analysts, 30-minute behavioral interview. They're asking me questions. Tell me about a time you were in a team. What are your strengths and weaknesses? What's a failure that you learned from? Questions that I have been getting hundreds and hundreds of reps already doing because I put the time in. I walk into that fourth room, it's a 45-minute technical interview. I'm getting drilled. Walk me through a DCF. What's an LBO? Show me merger math. And I crush it because I put the practice in. Leaving to LaGuardia Airport that day, I never felt more confident in myself. Never have I left the room feeling so certain of an outcome. And I'll never forget, I was in the plane, and I was sitting in the plane, and as we're landing into Washington, D.C., I can look out the window and I can see the Pentagon, the White House, all the memorials. And as we're touching the ground, my phone finally gets service, and I feel a buzz in my pocket. I take out my phone, I pull it out, I unlock my phone, swipe up, go to iMessage, and that first message at the top reads, "Hey Hamdael, give me a call when you land. From Alex, head recruiter at this investment bank." My heart starts to beat. I start to feel blood flowing in my arms. And in that moment, I swing my hands up, I hit the person who's sitting right next to me, and I say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I just hit you because I'm about to get my first investment banking offer. Something that I've been preparing for so endlessly. I get up, get out the airplane, grab my carry-on, and I'm going straight to the terminal. I walk through the doors, I look out, and the first person I see is my younger brother in the car waiting for me. I go straight to the car, the back window's open, I grab my carry-on, I'm about to throw it through the back seat. I hop into the front door and I yell, "Get me home as fast as possible. I'm about to get my first internship offer." As his older brother, I probably shouldn't have told him to rush home. But when I walked through my front door, I took my shoes off, and the first person I saw was my mom, waiting for me. She runs up to me, gives me a hug, gives me a kiss on the cheek, and she says, "Hamdael, how was New York? Tell me about New York." So I give her the high-level overview, and I say, "Mom, give me 15 minutes. Let me go upstairs, let me take a shower, let me put my stuff down, and I promise I'll be right back down to have dinner." So I go upstairs, I go to my sister's room, I say hi to both of my sisters, I go say hi to my older brother, I say hi to my dad, and I go straight to my dad's desk. I go straight to my dad's desk because growing up, watching my dad sit on that desk wrote my first lines of code. That desk, I've seen my dad answers hundreds of business calls, do hundreds of hard work there. And if there was anywhere in this world where I was gonna get my first offer, it was gonna be right there sitting on my dad's desk. So I take a seat in the desk, I take my phone out and I dial Alex's number. I give Alex a call, I'm like, "Hey Alex, how are you doing?" Alex says, "I'm doing good." I said, "Alex, I'm doing even better. Why are you giving me a call?" Alex says, "Hamdael, everyone had good things to say about you. Your interview went phenomenal. You know, the debrief, people had great things to say about you." And I'm just sitting there and in my head, I'm thinking to myself, "Alex, I'm waiting to hear what I'm waiting to hear. Tell me what I'm waiting for, Alex. I'm waiting for it because I knew what was about to happen. So Alex hears me so excited. He's excited himself. I'm nodding my head and he says, "Hamdael, take a seat." So I said, "Alex, I'm already sitting. What's up?" Alex says, "In the debrief, someone brought up your name. And they said that you didn't feel real." say, what do you mean? What does that mean? Your conversations felt too genuine, like you were running through a script. And I remember I'm sitting there on my dad's desk, and I'm thinking about how my parents are downstairs, setting plates on the table, asking if I'm hungry. I say thank you and I hang up. I'm sitting in the bathroom, staring at myself in the mirror, tears coming out of my face, snot all over my nose, breathing, crying the hardest I've ever cried in my life before. Thinking to myself, how could have I gone this entire week in New York without realizing how I was showing up as a person? And I spent those next days reflecting, thinking, what could have I possibly done during my time there that made me come off as fake? Was it because I was being too introspective, too fast, asking deep questions? Was it because I asked the same question to multiple people? Or was there something that I had no control over that caused this person to say that I'm too fake? And in that reflection, I realized something. I realized that version of me that was in that room was the most authentic version of me. Because I was living by my source code. But I had to apply a filter. Because I realized that not everybody gets the chance to live by their source code. Because of those early experiences in our life that we can't control, because you're born into it, some people develop a fear of showing up for who they are because they don't want to be misunderstood, because they don't want others to have that control over them, or because they were not accepted for who they are. And I made a promise to myself, right there in that moment, no matter how long it took, no matter how many hours I had to put in with no progression, I will find that room, or I will create that room where every person who walks into it has their chair ready for them, ready to accept them, their software, and every line of code that comes with them. Because I want the kid who walks into that room next year to find it a little bit warmer than when I left. My family gave me these first lines of code, and I refuse to discard it because that is me. Sitting in that circle, eating on the floor with my hands is exactly what makes me Hamdael, Selim, Eslaquit. So what do you do after a call like that? What do you do after you just had this epiphany? You set a standard for yourself. You set a standard so that when every time life starts to feel a little bit too overwhelming, when you're hungry, sleep deprived, and everything in your life feels like it's going against you, you remember that standard. You remember this speech, and you remember to always honor your source code. And I can promise you this. I can promise you that your time will come. Your moment will come. I can't promise you that everybody you meet will live by their authentic code. But I can promise you this. If enough of us, starting in this room, decide to have more intentional conversations like this one, then the room is forced to get bigger and accept every line of code that comes with us. Always remember and never forget. Look up before you speak. Give before you take. And always leave space for the next person. Thank you.
If you made it this far, thank you. Thank you for listening to my story, and thank you for feeling what I said. Always remember, honor your source code. Honor those experiences that have been gifted to us by the circumstances we were born in. And if this resonated, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and comment down below one line of code that shapes exactly who you are. If you have feedback on anything I said, please feel free to shoot me an email, shoot me a text. So, without further ado, I'll see y'all. I'm out.